All right, here we are. Welcome back to Slots and Locks. I'm Tim.
And this is Melo. How is everybody? Um, we're going to try something a little bit new this time, in the beginning anyway. We're still going to talk about a slot later, but in the beginning, we're going to do a little bit of, I don't know, we're going to have a little fun and go and start. So, Tim, you go first.
All right, I guess we'll ask you a question. I think since we were talking about gaming shows and the two big gaming shows, which are G2E and the gaming show that we can't mention because we're in the US right now, but the Interactive
Inter-
Gaming Expedition.
International Casino Exhibition.
There you go.
Formerly
Thank
from
you.
London and now currently in Barcelona in January.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other gaming shows. The one in Lisbon, which is really nice, that used to be in Barcelona. But I figured we'd probably start off with, talking about memory we have. We've both been in the industry a very long time, and throw it at you. See what you think.
Is that a question?
Yeah, what's your favorite memory of all time at a gaming show?
Why did I not hear that? My favorite memory of a gaming show was every time we flew to London, we'd have to fly a red eye. And so when you get in there, when you land and you get to your hotel or whatever, it's usually around 10 a.m. Now, I had booked the hotel very late one year. And so I was basically in kind of a modified Airbnb version of a hotel room, which had an electric lock. And so when I arrived, I went in, I put in my bags, and then we had like a company event or something. And but I did not have the foresight to realize that you needed the code on the electric lock, and I apparently had lost it or put it somewhere or something. So when I got back to my room the following that evening at like 2 in the morning, because our company meetings went really late sometimes, and couldn't get back into my hotel room, so I was in effect homeless for the first night of a gaming show. And so I had to go back to the hotel where most of the people in the company were staying, and I essentially crashed on the couch. That was
And that gaming show is typically in February timeframe. So it was probably not the warmest place to be
it was not
if you
the
had to walk
it
around.
was not the warmest place to be, but the hotel people, and I think I can't quite remember where exactly it was, but it was not near Earl's Court. That's where the old show used to be. But it was when the new show moved out a little bit farther in the suburbs-ish area. And they were very nice and they were very accommodating and understood my plight. But they could not provide me a room because there wasn't one. But they did allow me to crash until about 6 a.m. when I could actually get back into my room.
Hmm.
And so, Tim, touche. What's one of the better stories you have of a gaming show?
I guess there's a few things, but I'm going to probably make a little hot take here. The first show I ever went to, well, first show I went to G2E, but then I went my first gaming show in London, Earl's Court. I just had a kid, and it was probably about 4 months later. Didn't sleep very well. I hadn't been sleeping for 4 months, waking up every few hours, as anyone with a child probably knows. Went the went to the hotel, fell asleep. We did the red eye, and slept for about 14 hours. And I woke up so excited. No one was around, so I had to tell someone. So my dumbass decided to call my wife and tell her how great of a night I slept. And let's just say that didn't go over too well. But the other interesting thing, obviously we could talk about like all the amazing people that we met, like where you see people. It wasn't really big in Zoom at the early days or things like that, and so to be able to see people face to face, the Chris Terrys of the world, the Ollie Mannings of the world. Shout out to you guys, and just get face to face with them. But a lot of times it was around the Super Bowl. So I remember this one time it was the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, I got to order nachos because that's an American thing to have on the Super Bowl. And let's just say they do not know how to do Mexican food there. The avocados weren't very good. The salsa was ketchup. It was the one and only time I ever had nachos in London. Obviously in Barcelona might be a little different, but London was not great for Mexican food. Coming from the Bay Area,
Yeah, avocados don't travel north, that far north anyway, right?
Yeah, certainly. But anyhow, I guess like, meeting all these people, wonderful people, seeing them face to face, getting everyone in a gaming show together. To me, it's always it was really blown away between when I first went to G2E. There was less about the interactive games, and it was more land-based games versus oh, can't say the name, but the interactive gaming show in London, which was more digital. And so that felt more at home because of what we did. And so it really was a wonderful experience seeing all the wonderful tech but more importantly, meeting all the great people.
When you went to ICE, did you like have an extension? Because when I went to ICE, so I was in finance most of the time. So in our finance team, you shouted out Oliver Manning's name. He was in a town called Leamington Spa way back when, and so we would actually, basically have a piggyback on the gaming show visit to actually go and spend time in Leamington Spa, which is this little tiny town, a couple hours outside of London, very picturesque, and the postcard version of the UK really. And yeah, and that was a great time to have and meet those people in their homes and in their world. So yeah, I totally understand that.
I think one of the first times I went over there, I think it was one of the ice shows. And I was in finance at the time before moved the product, and I met Ollie, and he took me on a pub crawl. That was my first ever pub crawl, so that was a fun experience. I cannot hold liquor though, like the way he could and his buddies.
Their beer drinks differently there, I think. I don't know why.
Yeah,
It just does. It just feels different. Um, and I
they
mean,
do have this warm room temperature beer that I've never quite understood.
well, yeah, because it,
But
it comes carbonated out of the tap.
yeah, it's just not my thing. It's just something about room temperature. Yeah. Anyhow,
Well, and back,
I guess I gave it a couple hot takes between the room temperature beer and nachos,
well,
but the food there and drinks are fantastic. I'll just say that. But those two things, quite I understand.
no, we started our visit of the UK right when the UK food renaissance essentially struck. I mean, it was, you had your chefs, the up and coming chefs, the Gordon Ramsays, the Jamie Olivers, the Tom Kitchens. These guys were like, young, basically then. Sad to say for us, really. But and they they kind of, I know that's totally disguising and not ignoring probably a lot of real chefs that were like aside from just TV chefs, but that was like the beginning of that period as well. It wasn't just food based on pub culture. So there was a good thing. And speaking of food, I discovered Nando's at the Earl's Court, which is, still a love of mine. Freaking love Nando's.
Shout out to Nando's. For anyone watching, the what, two people maybe?
We have dozens of listeners, Tim. Dozens.
But drop us a comment. Tell us your great memory of the show, some date gaming show. If you ever see us in person, pull us aside and let us know. But otherwise, drop something in the comments. All right, should we get into it
Yeah.
and jump into this one? So today we wanted to go a step further, and we last week we did Buffalo Gold. This week we want to do Mustang Money, and we're continue the emotional journey of slot players making, I would argue, questionable decisions in this game, and we'll kind of get into what that means in a moment.
Yeah. We've gone from like smooth rides, sort of like, at Cleopatra, to Pain, which was I guess smooth rides, also Gonzo's Quest, to Pain, which was, well, Buffalo Gold. And now we're back into belief territory. So, yeah. So, what's the game, Tim?
It's Mustang Money. This is what we're going to talk about today.
Let's ride.
Giddy up.
Which So this one somehow convinces people that this spin is the one. And why is that, Tim?
Good question. It's about belief, and they keep thinking that it's the real bonus or real payoff is the bonus round. So they keep thinking the next spin is going to be the payout. It's kind of like I liken it to like a roulette wheel when you see all these greens, or all these blacks come up in a row, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, red's due. It's that type of mentality. Like I believe or I know like the next spin is going to be the winner.
You sure it's not like you put your money on zero? Or in America, double zero or N zero?
It's funny when online sometimes you have European roulette versus American roulette, and people will play American. which has worse odds, but that's maybe for another show. We probably should do a table game. All right, so
Oh, we should definitely do video poker and some form of blackjack and and the sucker bet blackjacks that all are out there. And
yeah,
by
again, tell us
and by
if you
sucker
want to.
yeah, and by sucker bet I don't mean, it's basically the blackjack has a very high return to player, but when you add the complexities and the bigger payouts, then you get a little bit more house friendly.
But if you have a game, table game or a slot, tell us. Let us know. All right, so let's kind of look into like the history of the game and all that good stuff. Like who makes this game and why does it feel the way it does?
Mustang Money is a slot from Ainsworth Game Technology. It comes from a time when feel mattered more than future overload. Overlord. That's funny.
That too, which
Yeah.
immediately kind of tells you something, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ainsworth games are usually simple on the surface. The graphics are nice and rich and meaningful, but emotionally cruel if you misunderstand them. So if you're there and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to spin 10 times and see how it works," that could be just 10 spins of nothing.
Yeah, and this game itself, if you're walking on the casino floor, it stands out. The visuals are bold, the symbols are instantly recognizable, and a game pretty much in half a second, you know what it's all about. You don't need a tutorial. It just spin and react and kind of go from there.
So Mustang Money was launched in the early 2010s as a land-based slot, came in online at about 2015, and it had a sequel, Mustang Money 2, in late 2017. And this was a period when casinos were essentially saturated with Asian-themed progress games. One of them we have discussed in the past. And it is, and another popular variant there was the aristocrat style Buffalo, which, we've also talked about Buffalo Gold with the volatility. And the launch of those games was kind of exploding at those times. So players were essentially being trained, if you will, to chase one big moment, which was, essentially a big hit. And so Mustang Money lands right in the middle of that shift. It's not early era simple slots and it's not modern feature soup. It sits in the belief area of slot design where, the, the hope is that you will, once it hits, you'll be gleefully rewarded and be a happy camper essentially.
Yeah, and this came out around the same time as Buffalo Gold, and that we talked about, I think, last time around that American theme Buffalo and all those
Frontier.
things. And yeah, Frontier. There you go. Thank you. So Mustang kind of falls within that Frontier concept, but the game itself is quite a bit different than the Buffalo Gold. And then Ainsworth also has that aristocrat DNA.
Yeah, it's the same founder lineage, similar philosophy. Let the math do the talking, not the feature list.
Yeah, this came out land-based first, obviously, like Chris said. It became one of those games where players swear that it's due and it's going to hit at any minute. And so it creates that sense of belief that Chris was mentioning earlier. And kind of go a little deeper on that, why they built the game. There was, at the time, they were carving out kind of their identity, Ainsworth. And so they had fewer features, cleaner screens, less hand holding, math that rewards patience, not attention. And Mustang Money kind of fits that philosophy pretty well. Other manufacturers, we mentioned a few in the past as well, were adding meters and mini bonuses and constant feedback and all these bells and whistles. But Ainsworth specifically wanted to strip it down, make the bonus rare, and make the bonus matter. So depending on the type of player that plays it, that can really appeal to players because they're playing for the bonus round. The bonus round is rich.
Yeah, and when you do that kind of thing, it's not such a red flag as more of a kind of like you're signaling to a core group of slot players. It's not a recreational slot machine. So the theme choice was purely intentional, as we said. The American Mustang theme was not random at the time. If you look back at the time, North American players were responding strongly, as we said, to frontier themes, independence imagery, and that wide open symbolism because generally, Mustangs are pretty wild, obviously. Horses, specifically tested well as a symbol of freedom, power, and momentum. So that pairs extremely well with a game that says, hang in there. When it runs, it runs. And when it runs, you'll be, richly rewarded, so to speak. So this theme sort of reinforces the math emotionally. Mustang Money came at a time when slots were either getting very busy or very dramatic, as we said. Ainsworth chose neither. They built a game that asked players to believe, wait, and commit.
Okay. So with all that said, I mean, there's obviously the big question for this episode, which is,
Why do players believe Mustang Money is about to explode into a fiery gallop?
love your choice of words,
It was
even
perfect.
when there's no evidence that maybe supports that, and we talk about the data. So, but somehow players believe it.
Well, yeah, and why do they stay way longer than they planned in this game?
Yeah. And this game is powered entirely belief. I feel like we're going to sound redundant here, but long stretches of nothing. You'll see this as we do a demo here in a moment. Sparse back base game feedback, and the bonus is rare but meaningful. We've said that, but you'll feel like you get almost nothing. Now, of course, right when we say all this, we're going to play the game and hit something really big, like we did last week. But you almost get nothing to react to. So what keeps the player spinning? Belief and the idea of it hasn't paid yet, so it must be very close. This game always pops eventually. I've seen this hit big before. One bonus makes a session. Like these are the type of themes or concepts you'll hear players playing if you talk to players of why they play this game, and they know it's going to hit soon. And so with that, I think we should jump into the demo. Um, if you're ready, I see it on the screen as well.
Yeah, we're gonna
And we should start spinning.
yeah we're gonna do.
Is there a full screen option?
So I'm
And we're spinning.
so I'm gonna set the spins to auto 50 here, and we're gonna keep the sound off.
Okay.
So
And we're spinning.
and we're spinning.
And what do we see here? You get, of course, we're winning a few here, but you're gonna see a lot of dead spins, right?
Yeah, I mean, you see the rich graphics. It has the standard Royals, the flaming Mustangs come back in the entire column, or they come stacked, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the game doesn't pretend to entertain you. There's not the what we talked about, progress bars, rewards, participation trophies. There's none of that. It's very basic. The graphics are great, but it's very basic in terms of you're getting exactly what you see.
Yeah, it's basically saying hang in there, or don't. We don't care. It's got a low.
Yeah, so there's a low. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
No, after you.
Oh, well, I say the low hit frequency games rely on anticipation rather than constant reinforcement.
Sure. So I think that's a good segue into the psychology and behavior, player psychology and behavior. So who actually plays this game?
Well, considering, we may be here a while. This is not a beginner game. This is for players who think in streaks, like Buffalo Gold.
It's kind of for players who, I guess, people who believe machines have moods and they're going to pay off eventually. But I was going to make a joke, but it's probably inappropriate. So I'll leave it at
Well,
that.
Tim, we can edit things out.
Yeah.
So,
But knowing you, it might not. Hey, we won.
wow,
Free, free.
we got in the free bins. Our few games already. All right. So our cash balance right now stands at 4,991. Bet I don't know how many spins took us to get here, but we're gonna just hit the free spin bonus. But
So we get lucky here.
yeah, we should have explained probably some of the T's and C's first, but we can go into that afterwards. For some reason, does it? I guess the free spin stops during a
Yeah, the
win.
free spin stops. So it only works on the base game.
Yeah, so we're mixing things up. We're going to talk about the T's and C's after we play the game today.
Yeah, but no one will know that. We'll just move it into the right position, right?
I guess we can. I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know.
So you can see right now we bet a dollar bet, and look how much we've won so far, which is almost $85. I mean, that's a huge, huge win for a dollar bet.
And the horses are multiplying faster. So I think each time you get one, you get an additional multiplier because now it's 5x.
Yep. So keep spinning. Got four left. So players overweight peak experience and underweight total session outcomes itself. So as we're spinning, then we'll keep going back to base game, keep spinning. I think we should talk about the mechanics, math, etc. So can you kind of explain this game without being nerdy and math speak? Keep it simple.
So talk about it as if it's my alternative character. Sure. So the base game is
There's
sparse, meaningful wins, as you saw, until you get to the free spin bonus. Most of the math, so to speak, for the player wins is in the Mustang bonus. I like that name. Lives in the bonus. The base game is intentionally sparse, which forces players to stay based on belief, like we said, not on feedback, a constant feedback, or what are those wins called when they're small but frequent?
the game's called like a dribbler, if that's what you're asking.
There you go. There you go.
Low volatility games. So it certainly feels intentional. So this free spin round, I mean, we bet a buck and we won 83 in the bonus round, 220 on the base game.
Oh my
So
God.
let's keep spinning.
Yeah, I was betting literally $1 a line. It is a 100 line game though. So, all right, we'll keep going.
Yeah, so its entire emotional payoff is a bonus, as you can tell. I mean, you saw it's almost 80x what we bet, right?
It's free spins or nothing, man. Long stretches, nothing, then one chance to make it worth it.
So I think we should talk about kind of the roller coaster. We keep kind of mentioning that as well. What does that look like in terms of volatility?
So this is a long flat track with one big drop, and you saw that in the free spin, which we just had. So we're currently standing at $71 over our starting balance. High volatility games trade frequent wins for stronger emotional memory. So it wouldn't be surprising that by the end of this session, we are actually underneath our $5,000 bonus, typically. But so it does have a huge effect for player balance awareness. The core math identity is four things: it's high volatility, it's low hit frequency, bonus weighted returns, and base game is intentionally weak. Colorful, very colorful, but still weak from a player a point of view. So this is not an accident or poor design. It's a fair point of the yeah.
Hold on a second. I think we should explain that just so if you're listening to this one, high volatility, low hit frequency basically means you'll get nothing for a long time and then get paid a lot when it does hit.
Great clarification,
Sorry.
Tim. No, no. Like I was saying before, it's not an accident or poor design. It's the point of the game, which seems to be sort of an Australian style, one could argue. I like to call it the frog cake of slots.
What the heck is a frog cake?
Well, I'm glad you asked about frog cake. It was created in the 1920s by Balfour Bakery, I'm probably butchering that name, in Adelaide, South Australia. It comes in green, pink, or brown and is known to have an open frog's mouth on the top of the cake. It's sweet, spongy, and 100% frog free. It is uniquely Australia. However, in America, we technically call it a like a princess cake, but we don't have any frog on the thing. It's just basically that I forgot what the name of it is, but it's that stuff that's on top of a cake that technically you can eat, but you don't really eat. Australian style games ask players, like we said, to wait and believe. They're quiet, they're sometimes brutal. We're still winning though. Anyway, they're quiet, sometimes brutal, and you are waiting for one defining moment, in this case, the free spin bonus. And one bonus will reframe the entire session you spend on this game.
You could say we're kind of just sitting here and we're going to croak and hope, or we've been leapfrogged by the bonus again,
Oh,
or this game has us jumping to conclusions.
it is. Yeah. Let's see. It,
But no, seriously, the US style games, Chris mentioned the Australia ones, the US style games are trying to keep players more comfortable and engaged. So they're more active, they're reassuring, something is always happening. Losing feels softer. So it's a different methodology and mechanic of the game itself, and it appeals to different types of players, between the two. So we went into the bonus trigger. We might trigger it again, but I think we should try kind of talk a little bit about the bonus itself. We should wait to the bonus if we want to, but I think we can kind of talk about it because who knows when we're going to hit again. Of course, when I say that, we're going to hit immediately, right?
we've already experienced it. It was, like I said, when the bonus hits, heart rate went up immediately.
Yep. The wild horses, the multipliers, the whole fantasy kind of kicks in. But anyhow, I guess it comes down to the bonus impact matters more than bonus frequency for success. If we show it again, if we get in it again, we'll come back to it and explain the bonus round. This might be, we probably did out of order and when we move this, but maybe this is a good time to stop and just quickly talk about the game mechanics itself, about the info button and stuff like that. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, just tell me where you are. Are we on copy here?
No, I was going back because we didn't explain when you go into the game for the first time how the game works. I figured we'd just record that.
Oh, you want to do the T's and C's here? Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll come back to that.
Okay.
We can always move something in the video, right?
We'll just stop this. Um,
Or we can skip it if we want to.
no, it's simple. All right, we'll just take a clean break though. So
Okay, so let's talk about the rules of the game itself.
So as we've done before, all T's and C's are somehow if you're in a purely regulated market, you'll have the T's and C's clearly advertised. You'll click on that button. This will then you hit how to play, and it will tell you essentially the rules of the game and the characters or the symbols. There you go. The symbols and what the symbols mean and how to play, right? Obviously, these are very simple buttons on how to actually play. And in theory, it does even have a history here that can be viewed by clicking on the clock button while in real play mode. You don't have that on free play mode, and we only have free play mode. Okay, but that's very standard. So what you really want to do is you want to hit the base table, right? So the substitute or the wild is the shiny little Mustang here called the Mustang Money. Hence, I want to call it a golden Mustang, but it's a Mustang. And then it has scatters, and scatters have various pays, much like Cleopatra has the scatters. And then the real symbols are this. So the dollar sign is the big one. The frontier is the second to biggest, and then the majestic eagle is the third one. I don't understand what the feature pay table is. How does that? That's the base. Oh, so this is
That's in the bonus round.
this is the bonus round. Okay. So this one also has a feature pay table, which is your bonus round pay table. It's very similar, except in this case, you have this new symbol, which is the circled golden horse, which they call a coin, but it works just like the original horse in the base game. And then the symbologies are basically kind of the same as the base game. It goes through the 100 different lines if you really want to get bored and follow colored lines, and then it goes into the game rules. So, Tim, do you want to read the game rules?
Good, but I think the get into the bonus game is getting three or more bonus symbols, the horse, Mustang bonus symbol, to get into the bonus game itself, I believe.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
So the horse appears on reels 3, 4, and 5, and they're paid, and during paid games only. To the left. Scatters pay. How do you get into freaking bonus?
Pretty sure it's three or more bonus symbols.
Yeah. Okay. Coin appears in Mustang. Has a return to player. Horse appears on reel 3.
Pretty sure it's the horse itself.
Yeah, the horse is the trigger.
Yeah. So you need three of those, and then it triggers the free spin.
So you need 3 of these in the base game. And that triggers the free game bonus, which is here. Oh, yeah. Duh. 10 free games are triggered by any 3 or more scattered Mustang monies on the base game. They should probably put this in the base game feature. Anyway, during the free game feature, horses appear on just reel 3 only. And this is what we were seeing too. So the prize is randomly multiplied by a 1x or a 2x as displayed. So those are just randomly. During the free game, when the coin on reel 4 substitutes in a winning combination, the prize is randomly multiplied by a 1 or a 5. So we hit one of the coin multipliers. If one or more coin substitutes in a win, the prize for that win is multiplied by every multiplier as displayed on each coin symbol. So there's lots of busy math in that bonus reel.
Fine. All right, let's go back to spin it. Maybe we'll hit another bonus round.
That was informative.
All right, so now while we're spinning here, let's jump into if we might get into the bonus round again. If we do, we'll look over and talk about that. But let's talk about copycats, how this relates to Ainsworth styles and things like that, I should say.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Ainsworth, right?
Well, yeah, this feels very Ainsworth backslash aristocrat. It has that Australian slot DNA, like we said before. Minimal fluff, high belief, rich, shiny art. Emotional commitment is required on how long it actually takes to get into that bonus round. But as we said in the T's and C's, the bonus round is where all the riches are, and there's like a complexity in the math depending on how many of those bonus triggers you hit.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of safety nets in this game itself.
Ainsworth is known for not coddling its players. They like to challenge them.
Ooh, and players oddly like that, right?
Or at least they convince themselves they do. This is one of those games where people commonly say, "Hey, I have a system."
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that. Well, that's the great thing about whether you go online or go into the casino floor, you'll see a wide variety of different types of games. A lot of people look at slot games and say, "Oh, they're just symbols and some sound and stuff like that. They're all the same game." But the once you actually sit down and play the games, you realize they play a lot differently at each game. But there's a lot of similarities. I don't want to say they're so different from each other, but there's a lot of similarities, but they do feel different. So let's talk about, we did in the last few weeks Buffalo 88 Fortunes. So where does this game sit compared to Buffalo and 88 Fortunes?
88 Fortunes, if you remember, was about progress. You were triggering that thing, it was filling up the cookie jar or the bonus thing. And Buffalo Gold, on the other hand, is about, pain and release. So Mustang Money, oh, yeah. Buffalo Gold is more about pain and release.
Yeah, the Mustang Money is more about belief.
Yeah, believe that you're one spin away, as we've seen, because we've had one bonus spin. Yeah.
We're almost there. We're gonna hit that one more spin, right? We're gonna get this round. Come on. But no, it's dangerous to say the least from a player standpoint because they always think they're one spin away.
And profitable depending on which side of the luck factor you're in on.
It's true. All right, so what's the lesson here?
Oh, wow. Tim, this game doesn't pay very often.
When it does, it pays emotionally.
Man, it gets the hearts triggering. And that's really enough for a lot of the players. They're waiting for that Mustang money run, right?
Yep, giddy up. But belief fills the gaps where wins don't. So you can see as we're playing this, we're just nothing. There you go. Right when I say that, we win slightly something. But there's a lot of nothing wins that don't necessarily matter. So luckily, we got in the bonus round pretty quick, which is fantastic. We could keep spinning, but I think we should probably end it there. What do you think?
I thought we were going to do a closing and telling us which one we preferred, progress, pain, or belief.
Well, we could do that next.
Oh, yeah, okay,
So,
yeah, okay, cool. So,
I guess with that, why don't we say, which one do you prefer? Progress, pain, or belief, based off what we were just talking about with those three games: 88 Fortunes, Buffalo Gold, and Mustang Money.
I mean, part of me wants to say progress, but when I actually do play slot machines, I generally would just play the progressives. And so I'm more of a belief guy because I always thought, if I win $1,000, great. But if I like won $1 million, that would be like, you know, meaningful.
Yeah, there's some games I don't really love the bells and whistles, to be honest. So I'm probably maybe somewhat pain, maybe belief, depends on what I'm in the mood and what I'm doing and what I feel like doing. If I don't, and also my bankroll and how much I'm betting per spin.
I mean,
That makes a difference as well.
no, 100%. Because there is a point in life where it's just too much visual stimulation. Anytime you're playing a slot machine that has multiple reels, it's almost like it's too much, I think.
Yeah, where you can't understand where you're actually winning.
Well, yeah, your eyeballs literally can only do so much.
Yep. So I guess the question for the audience here is, what game should we talk about next? What story you want to hear? Tell us about your stories. And what do you think, Melo?
What game should we play next? I mean, it's possible. I would either do like a new game, like that's kind of a newer version, or we could go old school and do, actually, let's go old school UK style, originated by Barcrest back in the day. It's a game called the Rainbow Riches. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that's a classic game. And so we talked about Australian games, we talked about US games, and now we're going to talk about these pub type of games that became really, really popular. It'll be fun.
I love your nomenclature there. A pub style slot game. I love it. Let's do it.
I think that's what they call.
Or
It's interesting in the UK, we'll talk about it, but UK doesn't, it has casinos, but there's a lot of like smaller pubs with casino style games in them and stuff like that. They're not the Vegas of the world.
no, I think
It's
yeah, and I think this is something we can talk about like when we do the show is the differences of a UK casino, quote unquote, and a US casino. I think that's meaningful, right?
I think so. So we'll end it there.
We'll end it there.
You
S-
have one?
So no, just
Thanks for joining.
well, we got to do the sign off thing. So if you could, if you want us to do a slot machine doing and a run through and all of that, just drop it in the comments. Obviously, it probably would be on the YouTube channel because they actually allow for responses. It's not the podcast stuff, but to drop it there.
It could be a link. Follow us on LinkedIn,
Oh,
Slots and Lots Podcast
oh,
as well.
that's right.
Where you seen it.
Follow us on LinkedIn, and I think by the time this is going, I think you'll also be able to follow us on Substack. It's crazy, right? Anyway,
Curious who's on there. Maybe down the road, TikTok.
TikTok's going to be a short, quick vibe. Anyway,
I feel like we should probably say that it's always funny. I joke with my kids that Facebook became uncool when your parents joined, and when your grandparents, and now that their parents are starting to join TikTok, it's uncool again, and they had to move to something else.
for me, anyway. I mean,
What
it
are those friends? Are there friends from high school?
it had a really quick like, hey, hey, look at all the people I'm gonna reconnect with, and then after a few minutes, you're like, oh, a few months, you're like, oh, now I know why I don't talk to them. I don't know. That was my take.
Yeah, I remember my wife joined Facebook first, and I was like, "This is stupid." And it said like, "Yeah, what's on your mind?" I wrote it like in the first person, and I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. And I was like, "Why would anyone do this?" And then like a year later, I was on Facebook. Yeah,
What I would love to do
but
is like when I would overshare, like I would just tell people I'm eating a banana.
it would say, "What are you doing?" I would say, "Tim is sitting on the couch." Every once in a while, I'll text you. I'll send a screenshot of when it says like memories, one of my first posts and stuff like that, because I didn't understand how to post because I didn't understand the point of posting anything.
We should do a like in the beginning of like one of our next episodes, just find a historical thing on Facebook and talk about it because I think that'd be funny.
But yeah,
So
good idea.
how stupid were we? Just so stupid. Anyway,
I think the Star Wars argument might be one of those too, right?
which one is it? The Star Wars, Star Trek? Which one is sci-fi? Which one is what's fantasy?
You got to be careful. There might be some Trekkies and people that argue with you.
What
Or is this like one of those stations like is a hot dog a sandwich?
it is sort of, but if you think of sandwich, you think it's also a verb. So when you're sandwiching something, you're putting something between two things. But or is it or are we talking about the Star Wars thing where is who's evil, who's more evil? That one's a fundamentalist and one's just, pure evil. Is it that argument?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What we were texting about
Ah,
earlier
yeah,
this week,
yeah.
where Sith, Sith, uh, the Sith evil.
I feel
But
yeah, that's a great way to start a show, I think.
and you'll see our metrics will just drop off considerably. We might have tons of followers, and then once they start talking about that, it will drop off considerably.
It'll go from
But
dozens to tens.
maybe we should do like a Star Wars game and do a Star Wars conversation around it or something.
I mean, if we could find like a video for we did have IGT did do a Star Wars game. We had Star Wars slot
Yeah, I
machines.
think there is.
If we could find
Yeah,
like
I think there is one.
if we could find video and play it, that'd be fantastic. But yeah.
But yeah, well, maybe that's something we'll do next.
Anyway,
All
well,
right.
we will talk to you
Thanks.
soon. You can say bye, Tim. Just say bye.
I don't know if I want to.
Okay.
See you next time.
Bye. Okay, cool.